All right. Welcome to today's Local Yokels Podcast. Thank you for joining me, everybody. First of all, I want to get into real quickly our sponsors, which is RoofWorks Roofing Company and Feed My Lambs, which is my big program I kind of push. I always use them as a sponsor, although they're, I'm paying, but you know what I mean. But anyway, always look out to RoofWorks Roofing Company. You can find them at roofworksmidsouth.com. Try to support them. They're very honest, trustworthy people. You can reach Josh at 662-303-0345, roofworksmidsouth.com. And then Feed My Lambs. A lot of you hadn't watched before. We are feeding children through a backpack program during the school year. On the weekends, we put food in their backpacks to get them through. Okay. And we always need support financially, volunteers, food, just however how you can get involved. We appreciate it. You can reach them at minormemorial.org/lambs, 662-781-1333. You can sponsor a child for a little $6 a week or $7 a week or something like that, which is amazing. So anytime you can help your neighbors, please do so. All right. And that comes with what I'm doing today. We brought in a great guest. It's probably, if not, I think, in my opinion, maybe the most essential asset we have as a community in DeSoto County, and that's DeSoto County Dream Center.
Wow.
And I got Jenna Kern here with me today. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
I've been really trying to get you on the show for a while.
I know. Yeah. I know.
Personal issues have kind of kept you there.
Yes.
And we're past that. We won't dive into all that. But I do want to wish your family well. That's been going through all that. Sorry for your loss as well with your mother. I recently went through that myself. Right. So it's been a tough year.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, but what I brought you in for today is to talk to people and make them aware of this amazing, wonderful community service program that you guys have in place here in DeSoto County. It's located in Horn Lake.
Yes.
Talk to people about it a little bit, what you do, what you provide, and the services.
Right,
okay?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. So we're with the DeSoto County Dream Center. Mm-hmm. Our mission is Title I school students and their families.
Right.
We really help anyone who comes through our doors, but we have to be focused.
Sure.
And that's who our focus is. And we help them through 4 different main ways. We have 4 pillars. Mm-hmm. It's healthcare, food, clothing, and education. We started quite a while ago. We started in 2014, and we started just with that education program, and we have grown and grown and grown.
Oh, yeah. Amazingly grown.
Yeah.
Tell people your location so they kind of know where it's about.
So it's at Goodman, real close to Goodman and 55.
Tractor Supply.
Absolutely, right next door.
Yeah.
Yep.
Behind the KFC.
Yes.
The old Harley Davidson building.
Yes.
Yeah. I know all these things because I'm from here, but
right,
a lot of people may not be knowing that need the services.
Yes. Yes.
And before we get too involved, I know there's some qualifications to it, but really you try to help a lot of people just besides Title I individuals, because I know y'all do community outreach through the food. You know, obviously I seen the other day where you had an amazing truck of fruit.
Yes.
I reshared it on both my pages.
Oh, awesome.
And I thought, man, that's an amazing thing to have right now. So who brings that to you, to say, hey, here's this gift. Can you distribute it to the community?
Right.
How do you get involved with that?
So all different ways. We are privately funded.
Yeah.
We don't really do federal money. We don't really do state grants, things like that. It's really businesses, individuals, churches who see what we're doing and who want to make a difference in the community and support us.
And look, man, I know how hard that is because you know what I do. So we have some common friends.
Right.
I'm going to give them a shout out. Lee and Monica Murphy.
I love them.
They were real tied to this church that I'm tied to now. I don't go there, but they were members for years, and they still are very tied to the church.
Yeah.
However, somehow they wound up at the Dream Center. I haven't talked to them about how that happened. So when they left that particular church and went over to wherever they're at now, I don't even know the current church they're at.
Right.
Is it your church?
It is.
Okay.
It is.
What is it?
Compel.
Yep. All right. So, and I know they support the program.
Absolutely. Not only, they're up there all the time.
Yeah,
Monica has helped with our
Listen, I thought she owned
program.
That church when
her
and they were like, nothing happened unless they were there.
Right.
So, but I can tell as soon as I seen where they were involved, I'm like, there's something to that. You know what I mean? Because I didn't know about the Hope Center or the Dream Center. Right. I get that confused sometimes because it has a correlation.
A lot of great words.
Yeah, a lot of great words. So that's another friend of ours, Stacy Dodd. But that's mentoring young children. And you do work with him on occasion.
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
Shout out to Stacy. That dude's everywhere.
Yeah.
He really is.
Yeah.
However, I do know that it takes a lot of money.
Yeah.
To do what y'all do, and a lot of volunteers.
Yes.
You know, it's not just money.
Right.
It's also time. It's also individuals who want to give back to the community.
Right.
Even from not just giving out food or clothing. I know it takes a lot of organization. You know what I mean? And however, I do know from your educational standpoint, you have in-house educational things going on as well.
We do.
That takes teachers. That takes probably some pre-graduate people coming in that's trying to share their knowledge, all kinds of things. Talk about some of the other things you provide.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you a little bit about each of our programs.
Great.
So our education program, it started in 2014.
Okay.
It used to be called DeSoto Grace.
Oh,
we kind of did a whole name change and pulled it under the umbrella of the Dream Center. But what we focus on, we went to schools and we said, hey, how can we help y'all most? And what we try to do that with everything, not just say, hey, I think this is what you need.
Right.
But hey, how can we actually help y'all? So we formed these great relationships with the schools here. Some phenomenal administrators, teachers, principals that are in DeSoto County.
By the way,
and they said,
I just want to say thank you to Corey Elselton and all the amazing administrators and teachers in DeSoto County, because we do have probably the best school district in the state of Mississippi.
Oh, absolutely.
Hands down.
No doubt.
But as good as it is, there are some challenges.
Right.
And one of them being food security. That's something you and I both focus on. Mine's more focused on the Delta, and I know y'all probably help there too. I'm not sure, but I know you definitely help in Horn Lake, and a couple other places that you do something similar with the backpack program that we do. We just call it something different.
Exactly.
Absolutely. But it takes a ton of money to make those things run.
It does.
Yeah. So going back to what you were talking about, the school systems, you reached out to them. How can we impact you?
We did.
And one thing I want to remind people: a Title I school, by the way, people that don't know, to be clear, it is a federally identified school based on how many children are on a free lunch or getting reduced lunches. So that percentage declares them as Title I. So they get funds from the federal government to help with their school. However, they base it on food needs. They don't give them any money for food. They just give them more money towards reading, comprehension, math, and that's awesome. But what the real impact is the food need. Clearly you got a lot of people on free lunches and reduced lunches, so they might need some other stuff.
Exactly.
Therefore, I think there's enough concern, and maybe people like yourself. I definitely was honking the horn, just not to get totally off path here. A couple of years ago, after COVID got over and they started charging everybody for lunches again, this is a real issue. I'm paying off lunch bills at these two schools every week.
Absolutely.
Out of my pocket, me and my mama before she died. I mean, we're hustling trying to pay off lunch bills. And I mean, I'm so frustrated. And one day, Gerald Wheeler, good friend of all of ours, texts me and he goes, "We got it done, dude." He's like, "We're going to have free lunches for all Title I schools in DeSoto County." And that was an amazing thing. I just like that, just relief, it's just that summer. So I guess it's going to continue on this next year. I don't know the thing, but to not get too far off topic, that's what Title I means. It just means that it's a school, and we have a few more than people would realize. It's, you could probably name them off, right?
We have 14 right now.
Yeah, out of 32 schools. That are Title I in this county. And we're a wealthy county. But again, it goes back to show where the needs are. Still. And
that's a good point. And that's something that I bring up a lot, is that we do feel like we're a wealthy county, but there's still poverty here.
Man.
There's still kids going hungry every single week. There's still families that can't afford health care, that can't afford to pay their bills, that are homeless right here in DeSoto County. The fact that we are a wealthier county means that we should have an easier time meeting these needs, that we're all working together. So
I think y'all did amazing work. I know people go, "Well, what all they do?" I said, "Everything." I swear, that's what I think about y'all.
It feels like that some days.
I think that's a great name for your program, because it is a dream sometimes. And I know how hard it is to make it happen. I mean, there's so many people involved, I know you're the ringleader, the focus of it, the director, the president, whatever you want to call it. But without all these volunteers, and I'm sure you have employees, you have to, such a big program. A lot of people, we'd love to think that it's all just everybody volunteering, but this is her job. I mean, this is what you do, and you got to focus on it 100% of the time. And it takes a lot of effort, calling and begging. I know I do it all the time just for my little program. So
because you want it to succeed. You want to help more people.
And I don't have a goal other than just, I always tell people I don't have an agenda. I've always been this person, but I was usually doing it behind my mother. She was involved in everything. And then, she'd point and I'd just kind of execute. And I'd be like, okay,
Right.
let me go find the funds for that.
Right.
And then I'd let her go do her thing and get the coats and the bicycles and the whatever, you know, shoes, whatever it may be.
Yep.
And so I was happy with that. And then one day I realized she's slowing down a little bit.
Right.
And she still needs me. And then my kids got grown a little bit, so I could put more focus in it.
Yeah.
And then I just found this passion to help. And I think probably, to me, I don't have an agenda behind it. And I know you don't either. It's not just a job for you. It's a passion.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I know you probably get a wage, and I'm not going to ask you what it is here. That's not anybody's business, but you would essentially do it just out of the passion you have for it now. You were probably already doing it beforehand.
Well, I started as
that's
a
what I'm
volunteer.
saying, a volunteer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And really, I believe every single one of our staff members, we're a volunteer
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
Our heart is there.
Yeah, and
We
the church
want
is
to
just
help
saying, like,
families.
look, if we're going to make this happen,
Right.
we've got to get behind it 100%. So the
Yes.
Compel Church, and there was another church at one time that was involved. Or if there's,
Yeah,
is
there are a
still
few.
two?
We have quite a few churches
Okay,
involved.
okay.
Compel Church, Pastor Patrick Conrad, it was his vision to start the Dream Center. He, someone came to him with a benevolence check one year, and he was like, we can do so much more with this than just help one or two families. Let's dream big.
That's right.
And how can we really dream big? So that's where the Dream Center came from. So it was his vision to really help families in DeSoto County. Dream Center is actually part of a network.
Okay.
So the original Dream Center in LA opened 30-something years ago.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And there are hundreds of them all around
all
the
over
world.
the country.
And they do different things. So each one, maybe the one in LA focuses a little bit more on drug addiction and homelessness
and things like
whereas
that.
here we focus more on our Title I school students and the food and the clothing and the health care.
And probably too, Jenna, if you'd agree, that leads you into like seeing the family side of it. Like then you get introduced to the families of the children you're trying to help. And then and then it could be domestic violence issues. So you have to work with the House of Grace. And I know that you do. You're tied in with every.
Sarita, love House of Grace. They are doing some amazing
man, I love
work.
her. I mean, I don't know if there's a nicer human being on the face of this earth.
I agree. I agree.
Shout out to Sarita. So
Yep.
I tied her in. This is a networking thing for me. Like I tend to like try to draw people together.
Yes.
And so in connections, my friend Jim Lasapio, he owns he opened Dale's, got Juniors, Mesquite Chop House, Lucky Dog. I mean, he's a big guy. And so like one of the things I talked to him about was like, man, they could really probably use some resources.
Yeah.
He's like, let's make the meeting happen.
Yes.
And so I took him and her and had lunch one day. They got together. Now he's helping them a little bit.
That's
with,
amazing.
Protein and stuff at the homes.
Yes.
So shout out to Jim for doing that.
Absolutely.
And that's where our community, the connection. So when you talk about the dream, I didn't know how I started this podcast, but that's kind of how it happened. I started figuring out like I'm just one guy and I don't want no employees and I don't want to be doing this 100% of the time. How do I reach more people? This was it. So I get more people like you on the show with these amazing programs. I've had the House of Grace on, the Hope Center, all these places, a lot of drug rehab programs, which ties back to homelessness and all this stuff. And a lot of times there's kids behind that people don't think about.
Right.
And that's where y'all come into play.
Yep.
So clothing, food, education, and healthcare. Yeah.
Yep. So
All the
our
four
food
essentials.
and clothing really, our education program started back in 2014. We started with 3rd through 5th graders, really focusing on reading and math.
Right.
If we can get down those basic do I like to point out, if you want to volunteer with that program, if you can hold up a flashcard, if you can sit beside a kid while they read, you don't have to be a teacher. You don't have to know all these skills. You can just come in and just sit with the kid.
Being
We
a
call
part
our
of it, it's kind of
volunteers
mentoring.
champions.
Yeah, champions and mentors.
Yes.
Like, they don't have to
Yes.
be educated. You can just
Absolutely
be present.
not. Yes.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Present.
And we actually give you all the answers to all the math problems. So no
I would need
stress there.
those. I would need those. I wasn't good at math then. I don't even know this new math. I don't know. I'd probably be at like a second grade level or something.
Absolutely.
So,
Yes. And then our food really kicked off during COVID.
Okay.
So we started getting, and it was a USDA grant to do fresh produce, dairy, meat products. And we did 2 tractor trailer loads every single week.
Oh, man. That's amazing.
At 2 different high schools. We were giving out so much food.
I
just to
remember
help
my
with that
mom
need.
going and getting stuff for families. And I'm like, Mom, they don't question. She goes, no, they know I'm putting it at the right places.
Yes.
I said, they only know that about you.
Yes.
I said, I don't know about everybody else, but she would literally go deliver that stuff. And it was anybody that was giving it away. Because she didn't need it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we were already over them, but she'd get out and haul it around. So it was amazing. And I'm sure you got lots of folks like that
Absolutely.
try to take care of their neighbors and stuff. So
the people that can't come up.
yeah, great. That's amazing. So.
Yep. And we have an emergency needs closet. It's open every Wednesday from 11 to 1, where anyone can come in and we help you with those emergency needs.
Right.
So we were talking about other nonprofits, and we'd love to work with other nonprofits. We don't give like a month's worth of food at our emergency needs closet, but we'll refer someone to one that does, like, Heartland Hands or another
By the way,
food
don't be
pantry.
afraid to name drop on here, because that's part of how we communicate these amazing programs we have in the community.
Absolutely. And there's so many.
Hands
And we
is a
don't
big
want
one.
to reinvent the wheel. If someone else is doing something well, we're going to do what we do well. They do what they do well,
try
and
to
we
maybe
work
coordinate
together.
together. Yeah, like I love that.
Yes.
Like when I found out, I wasn't even sure that anything existed else like what I was doing with the program we're involved with.
Right.
And then as I started calling, I'm like, well, I already kind of helped this group and that group do that. I said, well, wow, I didn't know that existed.
Yes.
That's why I started thinking, how do I bring more awareness? Because my eyes were getting opened.
Right.
And I'm not a churchgoer or any of that stuff, so I'm not tied in the community like that.
Right.
I'm a construction guy.
Yep.
So if I don't know you from that, I don't know how I know you. But so we work a lot of hours, and so I found out a way to like maybe we can get some people on the show. We can bring more awareness little by little about these great programs that's available in the Mid-South area, not just DeSoto County, but there's people need resources and help from our area that's from Tunica County and Tate County and Marshall County, and I'm sure you see a few of those people here and there. They also have resources down there. One of my good friends that actually was supposed to come on the show, we just talked to her today. She had to cancel because she's so busy down there. Is the Tunica Humane Society, Miss Sandy Williams.
Yes.
And they work their tails off. People don't realize they feed from the whole Mid-South, like Memphis included.
Yeah.
They take them when nobody else wants them. You know what I mean? So they're just overloaded. And this time of year with the heat, that's just 100.
Oh my goodness, it's so hot.
Oh my goodness. And today I'm on the phone with her on my way over here to do this show, and she's like, Neil, I gotta go. I gotta get these dogs out of the heat. Her concern is so much about so she's been doing that for 20 plus years probably, and it's her whole life, and so with the resource what I was getting at is like it's more than just our county or just your little town. It is really, the Dream Center is located in Horn Lake, Mississippi, but it's available for everybody in the community that has the need. So if you see that, I'm going to talk real quick, and we're just going to give you a quick shout out on how they contact you. First and foremost, what I'm going to tell them is it's the DeSoto Dream Center. And it is www.DeSotoDreamCenter.org as their website. You can reach them at 662-510-5900. And then the DeSoto Dream Center is their handle across all formats, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. And then I'm going to get out Jenna's personal cell phone. No, I'm just joking. But I am going to give you your email. So it's J Kern, Kern, at DeSotoDreamCenter.org. So if you have questions, see if you can qualify, how you can help.
Absolutely.
Be a volunteer, bring some food. You got some clothing. I'm sure y'all have like a donation box or something that you can do. And, reach out to her. In any capacity, go by the place, check it out. I'm sure they'd welcome you in there. It's a big facility, and I'm sure it needs to be twice as big.
It is. It really does. It's so funny how full it gets.
Lee Murphy swings a good hammer. I'm just going to tell you, like he could build it out.
Okay.
Tell him I said that.
I'm going to check him out on that. I'm going to check him out on that.
I know. I doubt it. very seriously. But Monica probably.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely.
However, though, I think that your growth needs, are you just like looking to continue on the same course and path that you have? You feel like it's maximized where you're at, and you just got to kind of keep this going and keep building on it where it's at, or are y'all trying to develop new programs?
Both. Okay. Definitely the programs that we have, we want to keep expanding them.
Sure.
I want to make sure there's not a kid in DeSoto County or anywhere around here that's hungry.
Oh man, that is never okay. That is my thing. That is my thing, Jenna. I mean, you are like, that's us. Yeah.
And whatever that looks like. I think we're going to figure that out. We have our program's called our Dream Backpack Program. Yeah. And that's where we take them into the schools. We're very discreet. That's how we do it. We don't want to embarrass kids. We don't want to, we just want to be sure they're fed on the weekends. Yes. But with school out,
it's hard.
Our emergency needs closet, we have tripled in need as far as food goes. We had to go shopping today, and we normally don't even have to go shopping. We have a lot of food drives.
Well, the cost of food.
There was just, our shelves were empty.
Oh, man, I believe it. I seen somewhere, these blessing boxes that's popped up all over the place. Minor does one, Minor Memorial.
Yeah.
It's over on Goodman Road. And I seen one that was down in seen somebody post one yesterday. It was just bone dry.
Right.
Like somebody posted on Facebook. Not that one, but another one in the community.
Right.
It was just empty, and everybody's like, "Oh my goodness, is it that bad?" Or did somebody rip it off? Probably both.
I think with these kids home, it's just there's just a lot more need. They're not getting fed at school.
No, they're not.
And you don't realize breakfast and lunch, that's a lot.
Man, it is,
they're really getting a lot, and so we're really trying to meet that need. But we always need food.
Always.
And we try to focus on the healthier food.
Sure.
We have ours is a little bit different. We have client choice with everything that when we have families come in, we don't want to tell them this is what you need.
Yeah.
I don't want someone to tell me this is what you need to eat.
I don't like plain vanilla wafers.
Even when you're hungry, you still deserve to have that respect and that dignity to pick out your own items. So we let them choose, and we do try to offer healthier choices too. We worked with the Community Foundation of Northwest Mississippi, Mississippi State, and Ole Miss in this really cool program called Healthy Hub, where we learned how to offer even healthier choices for our families, and that's been really exciting because with poverty, with low income levels comes you're not always able to buy the fresh fruits and vegetables. You're not always able to get the healthy choices.
And that stuff don't last long. And that stuff don't last on the shelf either. So like for you to have a whole truckload, it's got to go fast. Like you got to get the word out, and everybody's got to come get it right now. So because otherwise it's a perishable item. And you don't want to do that. I know with our back program, and I'm sure with y'all's, you want to do as much healthy stuff for the kids you can, but it has to be a non-perishable item. Has to be easy to use.
Yes.
So, they
easy to open.
Easy to open.
No glass containers.
No glass containers. And it's like.
And you want them to eat it.
You do. You don't want them just like, ugh, and that will happen. If you get it too healthy for them, they'll throw it in a trash can. Even as hungry as they are, they'll be like, I'm not eating that.
Right.
So but something's better than nothing. So calories, no matter how you can get it, folks, this is our children, our future. And you go, well, I didn't have no help. And I was, hey, these kids can't help who they're born to.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
In not all cases is it poverty. Sometimes it's just not good parenting. You can have a family that's got a great house and good jobs, but the parents aren't present.
Yep.
They're aloof to going to the grocery store. And buying stuff, even if it's something simple, just to having the cabinets for them to reach and grab when they're hungry. I used to get so mad at my kids because they just eat Pop-Tarts all day if I let them. You know what I mean? Because they were easy to tear open. They're playing a game and they're gone. And I thought I got to stop buying those. I got to I can't buy those. But I think that in these cases, the clear message is when the teachers. And I'm sure this is the same way with your program, the backpack program. Teachers and counselors are identifying a nutritional need because there's a lack of attention, and it's not from sleep, and that could be all due from a lack of nutrition overall. But they can't learn, can't pay attention. Heck, when I'm hungry, I can't pay attention.
Exactly.
At my age, they call it hangry, and that's a serious thing. It's a real serious thing. It really
is. We laugh, but it is. It's a thing.
So having something in their little bellies, like I don't care those circumstances. I really don't, and I always look at it as like, we feed about 130 to 150 kids a weekend in our program. I don't know how many y'all feed, but I'm sure it's similar, because the schools are similar size.
Yes.
And that's a lot. By the way, that's a lot of money, folks, and a lot of volunteer times that are involved in this. So thank you to the community, every single one of the sponsors that help programs like Jenna's and ours with that backpack program, because out of everything, it may be the most essential thing we're doing. Right. Because it starts with the kids.
Yes.
And then they see, I think, later on, they'll figure out maybe where it came from.
Yeah.
They may never know, but they know somebody cared enough to make sure they had some food in their backpack.
Yes.
So that's the biggest part of it for me. If we feed one kid out of that 130 or 150, that actually saves them from having complete starvation over the course of 2 or 3 days, it was worth every penny. That's how I see that. So, and I know people go, well, they don't need it no more. I'm like, how do you know that? How do you know that?
Yeah.
Are you at that house?
Right.
I don't.
Yeah.
So I just don't.
And if I'm going to err, I'm going to err on the side of feeding a kid.
That's right.
Always.
As you can tell, I haven't missed many meals. So, and as a kid, I was so fortunate to have great grandparents that cooked some of the most incredible food. And we weren't rich, man, but like they were from the Depression. So nothing went to waste. They
knew how to stretch it.
And they also knew how to make everything, from scratch.
Yes.
I was so lucky.
Yeah.
Some of these kids now, like if they don't go in a microwave, they ain't eating it. They don't know. They don't know about fresh home cooked food, you know. So, and that's just society, you know. It's today's social media world and TV. We even get caught up in it sometimes. It's so easy to go by the McDonald's or whatever, you know. So I get that, but I would think that probably the most essential thing we do starts with the kids from, and sometimes it's paying attention to them. Have you ever seen their little eyes light up and they got a great pair of shoes or,
absolutely.
or a new outfit, you know, they feel super good. That is more, just as important as the food, man. It's this confidence.
Well, it shows them that they're important. It shows them that they matter, that we're looking at some designs for our water bottles that we're giving away at our backpack giveaway. And that's coming up July the 12th. We need about 200 volunteers. We're giving away 1,500 backpacks.
Wow. See,
and
folks,
we let the kids
this is amazing.
pick their supplies.
Wow.
We want to give them that dignity too and let them pick them. And then we give them a book, a devotional book, and let them have free snow cones and bounce houses and just really big, fun, exciting day.
That takes a lot of people.
But we want them to start school on the same footing as everyone else. We want them to walk into school that first day. If they need a new outfit, if they need, the backpack, if they need a haircut, we want them to feel good.
The haircuts, everybody I've had in here from Sheriff Tuggle to the Hope Center, even the women in the rehab facilities. Right. The self-esteem is so important to building back on the future. You know, how you feel, how you look, you look good, you feel good type thing. Yeah. And I think that trickles all the way down to a small child that they're aware of the fact they don't have the best shoes or the best clothes or like the nice haircut, and Sheriff Tuggle talked about that one day. He had seen a kid and I think they had he just acting up and he had this hoodie pulled over his head. I don't know if you've seen that episode we did. And he's like, the whole thing was a haircut. Like he just was ashamed of his hair. And he told him, he said, if you'll get this right and do this right, I'm going to take you to get you a haircut. And he got him a fresh haircut. And he said, man, it just lit up. And it's like that man, arguably the most important official we have in this community, took the time out of his day, to make a difference, life. And that's huge, man. So thank you, Sheriff Tuggle, for that.
Absolutely.
And he's essential in all these programs. He wants to be a part of everything we all do. I mean, I know that. And he's like, I'll be there for you this year.
He has a huge passion for our youth here and for making a difference. He talked about, very inspired by that.
He talked about, growing up in Hernando as a small child, single mother, working like crazy to feed 3 kids or 4. I don't know how many he told me, but there again, it was a struggle. So he remembers not having the best of everything. And so he knows how important it is to have, for kids to kind of, I wouldn't call it keeping up with the Joneses, but it's impactful. I don't think kids need to be put in being a child is hard enough. Kids are mean, some kids are horribly mean. And I always like to, I was for the underdog. That's kind of how I was. I don't know, Jenna. And I might have been the underdog at myself, but didn't realize it. I was always looking out somebody else. I always thought I had a great childhood. I had great parents and maybe it wasn't the best, but to me it was. A lot of kids don't know the difference till they see somebody else how they're living. They're like, dang, you know what I mean? Like they actually get meat for dinner,
We just want to give them a chance. We want to give them a chance to start school with the good supplies, to have food on the weekends, to not worry about where they're going to eat, to get a little bit of extra help when they need it in school. We have a leadership program for 6th through 12th graders. Our kids were graduating out of our 5th grade program and we didn't want to lose them. They're part of us. So we're working on character skills and test taking skills and bringing in people from the community to show them different types of jobs that they can have and just building that in them as well so that we are really building this next generation.
I need to get you involved with a friend of mine. We want to get some more vocational opportunities for people. Obviously at the high school level, you start thinking about, I always think about this too, Jenna. It's like, all of us are not like ready for college. You got to start making a decision at 15 or 16. Like, are you going to college? I'm like, I don't know. Well, for me, it was a hard no.
Exactly.
My brother, it was a hard yes. It's just the way people are. But teaching them job skills available in the community, as you mentioned, like having a vocational opportunity beyond high school, but teach them young, start getting into some of these programs. That's some of the things that some of the people in the county are working on now to try beyond the career tech at high school. But something that can impact people that maybe missed that opportunity. or start at a younger age and something different, that's there in the community. Like, are y'all going to start?
You don't have to go to college to have a great job and support a family or support yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are so many amazing jobs that you can be happy with for your life. So
you can be a funeral home director.
To the kids.
You can be a funeral home director.
Exactly, like
Lee Murphy. Yeah, and I don't even know if Lee went to college. I'm not even sure. I'm sure he went to seminary school or something.
Right, yeah.
Matter of fact, I think he did because I remember Monica's mom talking about that's how they met.
Yeah, that's funny. I don't know that story.
He was staying with them or something going to that school. I think that's true.
I
could be wrong, but it sounds good.
Yeah. So, we'll go with it.
Yeah, so he just moved in with them and never left. Yeah. Her mom's going to be like, oh, no.
Right.
So, however, I think that's important, all the things that you are shining lights on, and not to lose our best, too. Like, sometimes kids, try to escape where they're at, if it's not good. But if you see all these positive, I think our county is an amazing place.
Yeah.
And I think we have so much potential and so much to offer.
Right.
There's some things that are always not the best in our community that we're trying to keep out. But we have great officers of the law that are trying to keep that at bay.
Yeah.
The people who are moving here are doing their best to escape the crime and violence and come here for better schools. Unfortunately, there's people that come visit them that mess up the community for some reason.
Right. I know it.
But and you probably, being in Horn Lake as a business, you see a lot of that too.
Yeah.
And not saying Horn Lake overall is that way, but just there is some tomfoolery going on that don't need to be.
Yeah.
People looking for opportunities.
Yeah, but we do have some great law enforcement. It's
from
just
our sheriff's
on top
office.
Of it.
Yeah, all the time. And our leadership's trying their best all the time. Our mayors are trying their best. And I'm sure every mayor in this county, just because of the fact.
And they are phenomenal.
Yeah.
They really sincerely care
about
their citizens.
They need your help.
They do.
Yeah.
They do. I feel very blessed. The officials here, the mayors, the police chiefs, the Sheriff Tuggle, they really do care.
They do.
They're not just saying that. When you meet them, you realize
they're genuine.
They want our community to be a better place.
I think so. And as we talk about going forward with our great leadership in the community, you talk about all of them being so involved in taking care of our kids. That's where it starts for all of us. And I think that's where the Dream Center starts and ends. But however you pick up their families along the way, I'm sure the majority of your programs involve the families.
Absolutely.
So if there's a kid there, then the family, the mother, whoever, they get to participate in some of the community stuff you do as well. And I know y'all have all kinds of events all the time. Some of the stuff you got coming up. July 12th is a backpack giveaway. Yep. What is the next thing you got going on?
The next thing, our educational program will be starting up, and then we are really excited about our race this year.
Okay.
So we've had a 5K race 10, 11 years,
I will not participate in that. Just so you know, I'm not going to be racing.
Okay, well, you can do what I do and buy the shirt.
I will definitely buy a shirt.
I will definitely buy a shirt. And then I
wear
the shirt. I love the shirt. But we're moving it to Silo Square this year.
Nice.
So we're really, really excited about that. Those businesses are so amazing. Talking about Lucky Dog earlier.
Jim.
They are, they're letting us host our volunteer snacks in there. They're letting us use their sound system. All of Silo Square is just phenomenal. So we're very
By the way,
excited
just
about
real quick, I want to give my producer extraordinaire Derek Michaud of SRP Studios in Hernando has a great DJing program that he does for events. So if you ever need him, he's the guy. Now you know. And he's going to do my big event we have for Feed My Lambs in October 11th. And this year we're growing it even more. We're giving away a hot rod that we're selling donations for. We're having it built and stuff. And, and we're hoping to have it finished by the time of the show, if not sooner. But however, we got to have a PA system and all that, and announcing giveaways and all that stuff. So he's going to do that this year for us. So if anybody's looking for somebody to DJ their event or host it or whatever, he's the guy. So reach out to him at Derek Michaud at SRP Studios, Facebook, or reach out through this show. You'll see it on the intros. So
that's awesome.
Getting back to that, maybe you need to get Derek to do yours.
Right. Yeah, we'll have to start talking to you.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah. It's good to have everybody in the community. You say the Silo Square, the Lucky Dog, and I'm sure some of the other businesses up there too are happy to have you. And so are they'll run a 5K up and down Get Well or?
We're keeping it in the Silo Square neighborhoods just to keep it off of Get Well. Sure. That's just a traffic nightmare. So
man,
we don't want to do that to it.
I was up there today. I was like, where does all these people coming from, man? Like, I don't even know if this many people live in South Haven. Good Lord.
I think that every time I drive. Where are they going?
I'm that way everywhere in DeSoto County. Like, it's just a place people want to come to, shopping, whatever. It is a really great place. So that's going to be on what date, the 5K?
September the 6th.
Okay. And then about once a month, y'all are trying to have some kind of pretty major event. to where you can?
We do.
Yeah,
we do. Most of them are outreaches where we're giving away backpacks, or we're giving away, at Thanksgiving, we give away 300 family meals.
Ooh,
so it's not
lot.
just an individual
Right,
meal.
right.
We fry turkeys. We fry 300 turkeys day before Thanksgiving. We get all the sides, the pecan pie, the
Just a
sweet
whole
tea,
meal.
the rolls, everything.
Everything.
So that we want to make these families where they have time together.
Yeah, man.
So we're providing that amazing. It's a fun day.
Again, folks, what did I say at the opening of this show about it's the greatest, maybe individual resource in our whole county? Y'all do amazing stuff.
Well, thank you.
I don't say that lightly because I know what works. I know what little bit I do, which seems like a lot.
It's a lot
for an individual.
It's a lot. Yes.
And I have one or two people. My daughter, by the way, shout out to Ashlyn Colley. She helps me with just about everything.
Yeah.
Sissy, as I refer to her, she don't like me doing that.
Oh.
However, she helps me so much, and then my friend Randy from Roofworks, he helps me a ton. But their jobs are primarily a day of,
right?
And you know what it's like. Making those phone calls, begging and asking for help and trying to coordinate and get people here and get people there. It's so small compared to what y'all do. It is. And I know how much.
I think making any difference in any person's life
is
huge.
But I'm saying for the size and how much y'all really do in the community. I don't think people realize it. I really don't. And
something I really want to push out that I think makes us a little bit different than some. We don't give just handouts.
Right.
We really, our focus is relationships with families. So like our education families, they come in for an interview every single year.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how many years they've been with us.
To reevaluate their status.
Closet.
To see, make sure
and
that
really to just form that relationship.
Keep bonding.
Where are you at? Where are your... Sometimes when you're in the middle of crisis, you don't see why you're in the middle of crisis.
Right.
And so we kind of help them navigate through some of that. And that comes with relationship and that comes with trust. And it has to work both ways.
That's right.
So we spend time, even with our Thanksgiving families, we talk to our families. We find out, hey, what's going on in your life? Why are you in crisis right now?
Right.
How can we not only meet your need,
but help you get out of it?
Because if you're hungry, if you're sick, if your kid's struggling in school, you don't hear what we have to say anyway.
No, you're not.
We got to meet those needs and then say, hey, maybe we can help you get some more education in a different type of job, or maybe we can help you with your finances and maybe do a different budget. How can we help you to really not continue being in this crisis over and over again? And to me, that's even more important than meeting those needs, because nobody wants to get handouts all the time.
No.
People say that they do, but the people that walk through my doors, they don't want to be there.
No, a lot of them are like, man, I'm sorry I'm bothering y'all again. You're not a bother. The thing about it is there are people who care, like the Dream Center, and they're doing this for a reason. It's not a profitable situation at all. I'm sure it's a shoestring budget all the time. Even though you got this wonderful support, but all the money is allocated in the right places, and you're trying to figure out where the most impact. Where you can make the most impact, and it is like individual families. I can't believe. I'm telling you, I'm always in shock every time I hear something new y'all are doing. I'm like, that does not surprise me, but bless them. That's so much work, man. So because I am just in awe of it. I want to get more involved, and I will. I just
we got to have you out there for a tour. Once you see it all, I've never had a tour go, wow.
Mm-hmm.
I knew you did all that.
Yeah.
Every one of them says, wow, I had no idea.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm telling you, I say this a lot on my show. I'm like a newborn baby. Like at 52 years old, the last probably 4 or 5 years for sure, my eyes are just like, what? That's a real thing in this county? Are we dealing with that? Really?
Yeah.
That's an issue?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Right.
We lived in these little closeted in our houses, and we're not worried about it. Our bills are paid. We're working every day, but there are so many that are struggling, and I have this conversation, I bet you at least twice a day with somebody going, how are people making it?
Right.
I'm complaining about the price of food, clothes, whatever it may be, and I'm okay. Right. I can afford it.
Right.
What about the people that can't afford it? Still got to have it. Still got the kids they got to feed. And I'm just complaining to complain. I'm not even it's really not having any bearing on my life.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think starting back to that, I kept thinking how do I get involved? Well, folks, if you're listening and you got a little bit of extra, the DeSoto Dream Center is a place to where you can put it to good work. It is absolutely a place to where your money will go to the right place every time.
Right.
There's nobody taking any extra for themselves, I promise you, because they do way too much for the community. Way too much. I know there's other great programs in this county, and I want to talk to them, and I want to have them on here. But from the ones that I see from a 1,000-foot view, and that's one of yours. Like I haven't been to your events. I watch you from afar. I know the people that's involved. I know so many amazing people that's involved in your program. And I just think there's something to that. I would love to have that kind of support in my program. And I've got great people, but we're growing it. It takes time,
Absolutely.
And each year it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And by the way, I want to announce this as we're speaking. It's not an announcement, but we are actually going to start a complete 501c. Order to, we're going to do it through these vehicles. We're going to basically build them. We're going to raffle them off, and then all the proceeds will stick into a nonprofit. And then when we find that immediate need program that's struggling, we can infuse cash immediately.
That's amazing.
So that would be our way to do it, and we won't have to have 100 people involved. Maybe we can do it with just a few, and then we can impact programs with instant reward instead of having to build up to. It's going to take time to build this. We know that.
The best things do.
And the first one we're doing is this year with that truck I was talking about. And we just build it from there, and hopefully it becomes a success. And then, of course, believe it or not, I said, well, what do we name it? And this one guy goes, well, there ain't but one name to name it, because the reason why we're all involved is because you're a mama. So we're going to call it the Fancy Nancy Foundation.
Oh, I love it.
I think it is.
I absolutely love it.
I think it's going to be awesome. So in the school down there at Walls Elementary, she was like a rock star down there. They have a Fancy Nancy clothes closet because she always made sure they were clothed. I
love that.
I'm sorry you never got to meet her. You may have, you just don't realize it.
I'm sure I did. I'm sure I did. We were.
You would
at
never
Walls a
forget
lot.
her. And you probably, she was the liaison for the food stuff down there, and then she made sure the clothes closet. Her, Miss Betty Spooner. I always want to give Miss Betty a shout out. And then there's some people coming behind that's having to take over the steps. Every program, like in my program, at that church I deal with, I always tease the ladies. I'm like, look, ladies, y'all are beautiful and young, but y'all are an aging group. Y'all need to start trying to recruit some.
That next generation.
Like they don't have it.
Sustainability.
I said, I'm giving you the blueprint. I said, what happens if I disappear or something happens to me or something happens to y'all? Y'all got to have some people to back up. So
absolutely.
Anybody that's involved, that wants to get involved in any of these amazing programs, from House of Grace to the Hope Center to the Dream Center to the Female Lambs to, I mean, you name it, Meals on Wheels in Hernando. I always like to give Christy help, and there's amazing programs like get involved just from a personal standpoint. You know, I mean, go out and volunteer, or just stand there and pass out a pamphlet or spread the word. That's helping. You know what I mean? All that. Don't have to be money. Don't have to be food, because not everybody has that. You know, if you've been a recipient of any of these programs that you're aware of, give back. You know, like if you get to a point in your life to where you can give back, give back. You know, that's your way of helping. Pass it on.
And that's so exciting to me. A lot of our volunteers actually came to us through needing our programs. And that speaks a lot to me that they know what a difference we're making in their lives, and then they want to give it back to someone else. One of my favorite quotes is, she said, you know, I see what y'all have done for me, and I want to give it to somebody else. And I was like, wow, that says a lot.
Man,
so that's exciting.
Well, exciting. Like Sarita, you know,
right.
She came through that House of Grace as a domestic survivor. That's the word I want to use. That's the word she likes to use. And her and Melissa DeBar both, they both came through that, and they're best of friends. And they both advocate hugely for it because they came through it, saved their lives. You know, and we only have one of those that I'm aware of in the whole county. Did you know that? Yeah,
of the domestic violence homes. Yeah.
That's, to me, that's I'm just flabbergasted when I hear that, because the need is so
there
huge.
Aren't very many in Mississippi as a whole.
I think I think she said 19 counties that that one house, and they're losing funding because of state cutbacks. And I'm like, whoa, I don't even know. I want to beg, or if they're lucky enough, if I'm lucky enough to have them watching, our supervisors who DeSoto County supervisors that set aside money for, you know, they pretty much set the budget line for everything. You know, pick them. Pick them. If all people. That is a program that needs it more than anything. You know, I asked Sheriff Tuggle about it. I said, you ever thought about how many domestic violence children? His eyes open. And because, you know, he's aware of the problem. Like, he's arresting them. He wants to push it down. But, like, when you start thinking about them, mamas usually come with some little babies. You know what I mean? Most all the time.
And they all need help. They all need support and health. And,
mental health is big after that because trying to survive it, you got all this trauma, I suppose.
Right.
I'm sure y'all help a little bit with that, with the mental health side of it, because you talked about healthcare. You do a little bit of that stuff as well.
Yeah, and I need to tell you a little bit about Trinity Health Center. So
Amazing.
Trinity is a part of the DeSoto County Dream Center. A lot of people around here have heard of Church Health.
Okay.
Dr. Scott Morris started that 20-something years ago in Memphis.
Okay.
And we replicated that down here in DeSoto County.
All right.
So what it is a free and charitable clinic. I mean, it's a charitable clinic for the working and uninsured. So people that work that don't have health insurance can come into our clinic. It is a beautiful clinic. It's in the Dream Center.
Okay.
We have nurse practitioners. We have an overseeing collaborating physician. We have an amazing lab.
Right.
We have medical assistant. It's a beautiful doctor's office is what it is.
Right.
You can come in and get health care on a sliding scale. So depending on how much money you make, that depends on how much money you pay for your services.
Right. So it could be free. It could be $20. It could be whatever, the sliding scale.
Right.
So with the entry point, I guess that's what everything in Mississippi or any kind of agency, it all based on your pay.
Right.
If you're coming in there and you're uninsured and making $100,000 a year, you're probably going to pay full price.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Whatever.
But
their full
everyone
price
needs
is,
health care.
Absolutely.
Everyone needs health care.
Yeah. So regardless.
That's a reason a lot of our families are in crisis. They had a health emergency that came up. They didn't have health insurance. So they're not going to the doctor. So it turns into this huge health issue instead of something smaller. They're missing work. They're losing their job. It just snowballs over and over again. So helping to solve these problems earlier, this earlier prevention, this chronic illnesses that we can help out with, it's making our society better here too as well.
Oh, I think so. That's a big issue everywhere. Healthcare across the nation, so expensive. I can get in a whole show about privatized healthcare. It just that's a blood boiling conversation for me. So I don't know. You're just a hair younger than me, but I don't know if you remember, but Reagan privatized our federal prisons, and our health care.
Yeah.
Because most of our hospitals used to be all publicly owned by the communities. Yeah. They didn't turn away anybody. You know what I mean? And there wasn't it might be $1,000 to have a baby. It wasn't 20,000. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not saying that it's not good to have a profit motive in healthcare because we do have amazing innovations that come from that and stuff.
Right.
But I think it's over the top the other direction now.
Yeah.
So, but I applaud y'all for that. I didn't know that was a thing. The Trinity Medical, Trinity.
Yeah, Trinity Health Center.
Okay.
And they're open Monday. Right now, we're open Monday through Thursday.
Walk-ins?
From 8 to 5. We take walk-ins. We take appointments.
Okay.
It's really phenomenal. I'm really proud of it. It's a great place.
I'm proud to hear that you're doing it because, even for me, I struggle with private. I'm self-employed,
right?
So, at times, I'm just always shopping for, and it's oh my goodness, man! I'm fairly healthy overall. Why is it so much? And it's like everything else. It's a profit motive. They have to make money. I get it, but do you have to make all the money at one time?
Right.
We're talking about basic human needs,
right?
And that's where I get in. It's kind of how I got involved. I know that's how you got involved in feeding the kids and basic essentials in life, healthcare, a roof over your head, food, all that stuff is the three basics, and then the right to an education, that's something our country provides. It's not free, by the way. We pay for it, folks, our taxes. So don't ever think it's free. It's not. So, and then they want you to pay $4 for a lunch every day. I'm not blaming Mississippi for that. That's part of our educational system, and that's not a Mississippi thing, but I think it could be cured by Mississippi. I feel like this, and you can, and this is just my own personal opinion. I feel like if we can provide 3 meals a day to an inmate,
right?
You know what I mean? And I'm not knocking that because we have to incarcerate people. Yeah. But if we can provide 3 meals a day to someone who is not right for society, so we keep them locked up, and we think, well, we got to feed them. Well, what about these children?
Yeah.
And we want to say, no, you can't have that lunch. You got to have this extra thing on the side, and until you pay off your tab. That stuff, man, it just blows my mind.
Yeah.
It really does. So, and then the healthcare part. Well, we can't see you unless you got that $150 today. Right. And so those are the things that bother me, and it's forced on society through the privatized health and obviously our prison systems. We think of them about allocating budget lines for that, but not for the children.
Right.
You know, so I think that's where your passion is. It's where mine is. It's most everybody I know's passion is. And, you know, but these are places, if y'all listen, you know, a lot of people I've learned through this, Jenna, a lot of times like, well, man, I didn't know that existed. I would love to help with that. Yeah. That's what this is all about. That's what this podcast is about, is spreading the word about these other wonderful programs we have. So if you're looking for a good spot, DeSoto Dream Center is the one. And Trinity Healthcare. And I'm sure that's all part of the budget. Out of the system. So, you know, you get a lot of help from Compel. I know that. Do you have any like major contributors you'd like to give a shout out to today? One of our biggest one is Homer Skelton Auto Group. Amazing. And Homer Skelton Charitable Foundation. Nice. They have really stood behind us, and this backpack giveaway, that's one of their hearts. Programs. Yes. They just want to make sure that that every child has that same chance. Sure. We're so appreciative of them. Yeah, man. Yeah. Oh, anytime anybody wants to get involved and help with a program, even if it's $5 or $5,000 or $50,000, I mean, I always say it counts the same. Like, obviously we love the big contributions, you know, like that helps to make it easier on the program, but like the little ones are just as important and essential. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and sometimes they mean more, you know. They do, because they mean people might be giving you their last little dollar to kind of help, you know. And I always find that like extremely interesting. Like, what's their story? Right. You know, like I want to know their story. Those stories. Yeah, I do too. I do. And it might have been like when they were a kid, somebody did something for them, so now they're trying to pay back. So, you know, or they just see it and they just want to be a part of it. Yeah. And I think that's so important. I think that we can all be a part of changing our community. It may be through time. It may be through the only dollar you have. It may be through $100,000 you have. Right. Or it may be through a prayer or a mention or just sharing it with somebody else. There's so many ways that we can all help our community. Yeah. And we all have different gifts that we can do that. Man, yeah. And I love it. It comes from the heart. I think as I look around, I find people, there's all kind of charitable people out there. Right. And a lot of people like to do it in their own way. They like to vet the programs. Right. You know, the way I think they should. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Right. Like, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. Before I got involved with the minor, I mean, I knew Leah and Emmett went there, so I knew it was a good program, but I still wanted to see where if I'm going to get involved to this level, I need to know exactly what I'm getting involved with. Right. Is all the money going to buying the food? Yes. Right. By the way, it is. Like I had to vet it, you know, so it's in question. If you want to check them out, go on their website. You can see testimonials, the validation. And I think by now y'all have such a good reputation. Nobody's questioning what's going on at the Dream Center. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think that you got a great reputation, Jenna. Just everybody that knows you, they're nothing but high regard for you. Thank you. And I know it's a passion. And I know through what you've been through in the last couple of months with your family, I'm like, how is she still working? you know, because I love our community. You truly do work it. Yeah. And how many people do you think in a year's time that y'all touch and impact through the Dream Center? I would say individuals, you know. Yeah, I would say this last year maybe 7,000 or 8,000. That's a lot, man. You know, so and it's on different levels for each one, but really, I haven't even touched on half the programs that we do. We do a lot. We'll run them off real quick. So let's talk about them. So we have an Adopt Block program where we go into the community. Yeah. Once a month, we do it in South Haven, Hernando, and Olive Branch, where we take food to a community and we form relationships with them. We do our Dream Backpack that we talked about. We have Dream Closets where we put brand new clothing in Title I schools so that principals and counselors and teachers can take kids directly into there when they need a new outfit. Yeah. We have our leadership program. I talked about that one. Now you're putting me on the spot. I'm trying to think which ones did I talk about, which ones did I didn't. Take your time. Yeah. But we just really, we try to do a whole lot to really touch every area that a person needs. Yeah. So, okay, let me think. What other? Our Christmas program. That's another one that I didn't have listen, man. I could say I see what y'all doing. When I told you they got a lot going on, I'm not even kidding. So I know, but put on the spot like this rattling off's hard because, and I'm sure you have plenty of assistants and people trying to help you maintain focus. I'm sure you want to give them a shout out to people that really got your back every day. My staff up there, and we're a very small staff. Yeah. But they're not there for the money. I'll tell you that. Yeah. They are there. They love our community and they love what we do. And we're all honored to be there. Mm-hmm. We know that it's a blessing to get to be there. It's a blessing that we get to walk in every day and change somebody's life. And it is life-changing.
What a calling. How exciting.
It is exciting.
But they pour everything they have. I'm telling all of them all the time, please go home. You've worked so hard today. Go home to your family. Don't come up here on your day off. Don't. And everyone's part-time. So the rest of my whole staff, they're all part-time. We're just there. They're there full-time, but they're part-time,
We're employees, but they're working full-time hours.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that, I think with people such as you're talking about, they have this thing of not letting someone down, that they know that's depending on them to provide this service, and so that's where community service really pays off in the mind of helping your fellow human, as a human. I always talk about the human rights and, some of the stuff's going on overseas right now, regardless of, religious affiliations, it's just horrible. I don't care who you are, you can't support that kind of stuff, I know we want to get behind certain regimes and things. I don't buy that in life. It's about the kids. When you see that happening, you're just like, that's gloves off. There's nothing in the scripture that says that, you know what I mean? So, I don't follow those guidelines too much, but I do think that, as a whole, you have I think as a whole, the country, and every community, there's some great programs at play. I'm sure, like you said earlier, this is modeled after another program that somebody set in place somewhere else, and we're always learning. And don't be afraid to be like, they're doing something right. Let me see if I can jump in and follow that or start my own. And it's kind of become such an individual thing. I think the lady that started our program, I think she might have worked for the school district in the food area, nutrition area. And Jennifer Wilhite's her name. And you might have known her. I don't know. But her mom is Billy Wilhite, and they just one day said, "Hey, let's take it to the church, see if they'll support us." And that's how it started.
They saw a need and they wanted to meet it.
Started out with a few kids, and then it just ballooned up, and then they moved to another school doing it. But I don't think we could do it anymore, school wise. I think that I know Hope Sullivan does one as well. And I don't know what they call it, but it's very similar. Title I school, and y'all might even be helping with that one. I don't know. So, you help up quite a few schools, but just knowing the resources that are available to the community is what the show's all about. And obviously you are a great resource to our, whole county. I mean, obviously you're focused on Title I, but if there's somebody that's living in, Olive Branch.
Absolutely.
That's not affiliated with the school and they need some help through medical. The Trinity Health Program is good for them. Clothing resources, food resources. It's all there for you. It's not just school focused. It is a community-based organization. So now, do y'all help with, I know homelessness is a big deal. Do you have a facility where you house them, or is it something where you just try to find resources for them outside?
We don't help with things like that. We don't really help with rent assistance, things like that. But we have such great relationships with all different nonprofits in our area and in our state. So we know how to point people to the right people who can hopefully help them.
Help them get into a hotel for a moment or some kind of temporary housing.
And we even try to help them fill out some of that paperwork. And that can be overwhelming when you're going, who do I have to call? What do I have to say? What do I have to bring? And so we even try to help them a little bit with that and give them some confidence and give them okay, this is what we know you're going to encounter. I already called them and told them you're going to be calling. So it's okay.
Absolutely. And
but
help them walk them through the door. Hand holding a little bit is important. There's a reason why they're in the position in their lives. Obviously they've made, not always, but bad choices.
Sometimes it's just crisis.
Man,
I said, sickness or your kid's sick and you have to stay with them. We had a family recently. The mom lost her job because she had to be with her kid at St. Jude. Oh, wow. And, that nothing.
And everybody thinks St. Jude, they do a lot for people, but what they don't do is provide you a job while you're there. So you have to have that. And you would think that company, you go, well, they shouldn't have lost. Well, they got to move on. And
and some of them are small, companies. It's
so resourcefully, they have to make sure. I mean, they can't go down with the ship, necessarily. So I get it, but I mean, every situation is so unique. I always say that about everything that we're involved with, even with the kids. Every family is different. You don't know what's going on behind closed doors. You just don't know. Every situation is different. So don't paint it with one stroke. You know, try to find out, like you said, asking details about their, you know, how's things in life? How's, you know, are you progressing in this area and things, you know, that's important, you know, and you can help them.
Offering that love and grace.
Absolutely. Grace is a good word. I've heard that passed along by a lot of the folks I have on here. Having grace, you know, is a big deal. Something I don't use in my life verbally, but I understand it. Because I'm not tied to that. But however, though, I do appreciate it. And I always don't discount anybody's faith because I know how important it is to them in the community. And without the churches in this community, I always say this, and I'm going to say this again, folks. If you're looking for a free ride, Mississippi is not your state in any way, shape, or form. Our government will not allow it. They don't want to give nobody nothing. And I shun them for it, man. I really do. If that's a good word, you know, because you know, it is sad, really. You know, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. That's kind of how they look at it. You know, and
we all need a little bit of a hand up sometimes.
We do, and having a little bit of a. You know, like just looking at folks like, dang, they're in trouble. I need to help them. You know, and it's out of sight, out of mind for the ones who make the rules, you know, and allocating, you know, of course, nobody wants, you know, poverty or low income housing in their communities, but it exists, man. Like there's different levels to this life. You know, and if you're lucky enough to be at one of the higher levels, then good for you. But guess what? One turn of events, and you've seen it. I'm sure you've seen it to where they've been at the top of their lives and doing great, and now they're needing your help because loss of a job, sickness, illness, whatever. You know, put them in a position where they needed your help. So don't think it's beyond you. So don't look at it as you know, something bad on the community. You guys are providing a very, very essential resource in our community. And there's others, you know, there's the mission down in Walls, you know, with the Sacred Heart League. Yeah, they're an amazing program too. There's others, Samaritans, they do a lot of work. Heartland Hands, is that what you call them? There's lots of these amazing programs. It's not just DeSoto Dream Center. But I would say y'all overall are more well-rounded, offer more things program than anybody. We were
very intentional in our programs.
It's not really just food and money. It's more like trying to, like, I think what you're trying to say is it's mission driven to help them out of their situation. You know, like help them come out of that. Which most programs are designed to initially start. But then it becomes like, well, here's your food. We'll see you next time. They're not talking about why they're here. And some people don't even bother with it. I get it. You know, but if you keep seeing the same face all the time, then you have questions, right? So anything that you want to touch on that we haven't touched on already? Like, are you...
I didn't shout out my volunteers yet.
Do that.
And we have so many. I mean, we'll have an event Thanksgiving Day or day before Thanksgiving. We'll have 300 volunteers at the Dream Center.
My goodness.
And that is
mind blowing.
It is a sight to see.
It really is.
It's exciting. And we couldn't do any of our programs without those volunteers. They really
and keeping them organized is a big deal.
And they give up their time. They could go home every night and sit on their couch and watch TV, but they don't. They come up there and they pour into someone else's life, and they're making a huge difference.
Absolutely.
A huge difference. And I'm so honored
from
that
all
they
walks of
choose to
life
spend
too,
their
I'm
time.
sure.
Absolutely.
Like they're everywhere. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah. From the Hispanic community to whites to blacks, whatever, it doesn't matter. I don't believe religious affiliation has anything to do with it.
No, we have all different kinds that come in there. And I love it. I love it.
I do too, man. I love it because like we're just a melting pot of people. And when you start talking about, well, it's only a Baptist program or a Methodist, don't do that. Like this is a human need program. This is not anything to do with I'm on this side or that side. So if you're thinking it's if you hear that, the word church, it's not, I mean, it's funded by churches and businesses, but unfortunately we rely on our churches a great deal in this community to help us.
Well, and I think that's what they should be doing.
Absolutely.
Helping the community.
Absolutely. But I think our state relies too much on our churches to do that. Like, you know, if it wasn't for the churches in DeSoto County and other places too, by the way, some of the great churches, the resource we have, there'd be a lot of people in a lot of trouble. You know, because they do, the high majority of them that I'm aware of, yours being one, I know there's some others I'll mention, but I know the church that I'm involved with, mine, they all put their money where their mouth is, you know, and they're not hiding anything. There's no agenda. It's just trying to truly help people. And so, if you're thinking that, you know, that is a problem in other communities. I do know that where it's not always on the up and up, but vet the programs, you know what I mean? Just check it out. So again, get involved. this is a way to, be community service minded. And if anything, just come hang out. Like, you don't even have to really do nothing. Just get familiar with the program, get to know the people.
Yep.
Maybe you find a path to where you see, like, that's where I can fit in, you know? And it can be that you might want to be a mentor to a young child, you know what I mean? Or an adult, or I mean, maybe that family needs a mentor as a whole, Do y'all do some of that stuff, like the family counseling and maybe do y'all do group events, like where y'all go to the movies or any of that stuff? Or?
We, during COVID, we had a drive-in. We hosted a drive-in movie. Okay. But we don't do a whole lot of things like that just because it's such a big crowd. Our families at the Dream Center, it's a lot of people. So.
Right. So you can't just like, everybody come to a movie night. Yeah. Might be like 1,000 people show up. Literally.
Which is exciting.
Again, it's a testimony to how big and amazing the stuff you're doing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because it's not just I'm sure it started out grassroots and then little by little, it just kind of become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So originally it was, what was the name of it?
DeSoto Grace was our education program that started. Yeah.
That's a great name too. But I love the Dream Center because I used to think about it when I heard that name. Yeah, the Dream Center. I'm like, what is that about? Yeah. And then it makes me ask questions. And
I'll tell you that the root of it is we want families to dream again. Oh, yeah. So that's why we talk to them. That's why we spend time with them, because when you're in crisis, you don't even think about your dreams.
Tell people what you mean by that.
And I ask them when we do these interviews and when we're spending time with them, I'm like, okay, if you could dream that your family would be anywhere you wanted it to be, that you were doing what you wanted. And they're like, I can't even begin to think of having dreams because I'm so deep in this crisis right now. And so we want to get them through that crisis and get them dreaming again, where they have hope and they have something to look forward to. That makes all of us better.
It does.
So that's dreaming again.
Oh, that's amazing. So when you're in crisis, I mean, it's hard to see the light, if you will, and
we get that. We've all been in different levels of crisis, and we
have been recently,
that's
young
all
lady.
You see in front of you is pain and hurt.
Probably because it's probably who you are is kind of what got you through the last few months of just like one thing after another, and you were in crisis mode multiple times in the last couple of months.
I really was.
Yeah. And I can attest, I have been too in the last couple of years. I have been too, but there again, that's you had this great support system. You talked about me. You're calling some friends and like, I need you now. I need you to be praying for me. I need your help personally or whatever. That is something a lot of these families don't have. They don't have the support system. Having someone to step up and go, I got you. Don't worry about this. And that's huge. That y'all can offer that to people. So I think that's the things we forget about when we get caught up in our lives and we just like get home from work, we kick off the shoes and we're going to watch TV. We forget there's a whole element of the world that's struggling, really struggling. And be comfortable. That's what you work hard for. But like every once in a while, just peek out the curtain and say, oh, I see that. Let me go help them. You know what I mean? Just for a little while, it don't take all your time, because there's amazing people like Jenna here that's already dedicating the majority of her life to this. So, but you're rewarded so greatly.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm sincerely blessed to be able to do what I do.
I always tell people, I'm extremely, extremely rich.
Yeah.
But not financially.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I just got this great group of people, family, friends, networks of folks that I know. And it's like, that's what makes me rich. I'm wealthy in my mind. But I'm not talking about money, because you can't go anywhere with money. No. It will get you, you got to have a little bit to live on, but I get it. But overall, that's not going to make you happy. Like, the fulfillment you get from helping your neighbors and stuff like that, there's just a rewarding feeling behind that, and not having an agenda behind it, just truly like you help them, like you called it a help up earlier, that was a good terminology. So, would you say your biggest contribution to date, what would you label it as? Just where you've grown the program to, or is it just, you haven't accomplished it yet?
I don't know. I think every day I'm still in works of what's going on.
Yeah. How do I get this bigger and better?
Yeah. Well, and not even bigger and better. Just, I think my focus is more, am I really making a difference in somebody's life?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because bigger and better doesn't always help people.
I agree.
But today, did we make a difference in somebody's life?
Yes, day to day.
And sometimes it's one of our volunteers' lives. Wow. Or sometimes it's maybe one of our staff's lives, or someone, something like that. It's not even always somebody on the outside. Sometimes it's just taking that moment to listen. Yeah,
because you're an organization full of volunteers. Like you said, 300 at one time sometimes. And they could be in crisis themselves. And they're reaching out, just coming there to try to get away from their situation sometimes. You always used to tell my employees back when I had them, I used to have them, thank goodness no more, but try to look at work as an escape from your crisis you're in. Now, don't be the crisis for the employee. Like, that's another problem. Like, come to the job and it's like, oh, I hate this place. But be a place for them to come as a refuge to get it off their mind, and then maybe that's what they're doing, volunteering with you, is to try to escape their situation long enough to where this little piece of mind, I'm helping folks up here, I can get that may be that too, right? And but then you find sometimes your volunteers, you might need to help them a little bit back. And you recognize that. I'm sure you can, like, absolutely. And I'm sure your assistants and stuff recognize, like, not to mention names, but like we might be like, Terry over there, did you notice today? She just seems out of sorts. Like, we'll talk to her, have a conversation. Yep. So it's probably fellowship a lot too. Like when you're up there with that big group of people, right? I guess you would call it that, right? Oh, absolutely. When you're preparing everything,
absolutely, because it's more than just coming up there to work, which we do a lot of work, but
I know, I see,
but for sure, it's making a bigger difference.
I think so too. Yeah. I think overall, like, everything you're doing is making a huge difference, and we need more dream centers. We need more everything. House of Grace, all the places we talked about. We talked about the drug rehab programs. We need 10 of those. The sober living, because all that's crisis mode. And thank goodness for all the people's doing that. I don't care what even the motives are, I think, just helping people. Like, they got helped a lot of times. Coming out of a bad situation, see how I can do it. It becomes real life work for them. And I've the Warrior Center over in Olive Branch. He was on last week. David Vincent. Are you familiar with him? Yep. And they do amazing work as well. And all of it's just these people. You don't realize the turmoil that your neighbor might be in. You have no clue.
That's what I was going to say. I think it's just each and every one of us looking up from our phones and looking up from our own lives and saying, what's going on around me? Who needs an encouraging word, or who needs a little bit extra?
Absolutely.
Today.
I'm always quick to, like, hey, I really appreciate that. You don't have to thank me. I'm like, yeah, I do. Like, I really appreciate you just thinking about me, that's a huge deal for me. So, like, I can remember when I was in partnerships young in my life, and somebody was leaving work, I'm like, hey, thanks today. And they're like, and the guy looked at me and goes, what are you thanking them for? We're paying them. And I'm like, they don't have to work for us. Have you not realized that? Yeah, it's like, that gave me, I was like young 20s, and I was like, he is so wrong how his outlook. He's going to struggle with employees. Now, he's going to be rich in life. He's going to be wealthy, but it's going to be a hard path. But there's no employee that's ever going to go, man, I just love him. You know what I mean? That's the thing I looked at. It's like, make them feel appreciated, valued. They're working for a living, barely. You know what I mean? Like, we're barely paying them. So that's some of the things we go. But just feeling appreciated will make people take that extra step for you in life. That's kind of how I look at it. And, and I know you go to a great church, and I'm sure that it's all about that kind of reaffirming and stuff, and I think we passed this, like, right up here on the corner, right?
Yep. So we have 3 campuses at that church, and then we're also in the women's prison in Henning, Tennessee. Okay. Which is exciting too. So that's huge. So you can kind of go to church where you're at. It's not about building a huge mega church. It's about going to church where you're at. Right. And with your community.
A lot of people in the community is really behind that church. Yeah. And Hernan. I mean, I know, obviously, people up from my area go to Compel. Right. Clearly. They make the drive, Right. But again, it's one of those places that does a lot for the community. I know they're expanding and doing other things. They have to, because of the growth of the church, and more people want to get involved, so they have to expand their opportunities.
But they really do care about the community, and I've seen that firsthand. I see firsthand that the ways that they're giving back and wanting to make a difference, and that means a lot to me. That's what I want to be behind.
Absolutely, and they're behind you every step of the way, because they know the amazing work you're doing. I don't think it's something they can do out of the church itself. Like, it would be impossible to round up that. So you guys are a little legitimate organization. Like, it's not just a couple of volunteers showing up on a Thursday to do something. It's like every day. Do y'all take the weekends off a little bit?
We try
other than like having events.
Now we have Adopt-A-Box on the weekends. And that's 3 weekends a month. And then we have an event, every month, usually. So and we try to just show up wherever we need to show up. So I don't know if we take a lot of time off.
It doesn't sound like it.
It doesn't feel, now that I'm saying it doesn't
Jenna,
feel like it.
Answer me this question, and I'm not trying to like relate to what you and I do as the same, because I'm not by no means the same as you. But I will literally lay in bed at night before I go to bed thinking about how tomorrow? Who can I call?
Right.
Who can I meet that can help me help others? You
Absolutely.
know what I mean?
Like, yeah. And that's just that passion.
I think that is, you know. And my mom used to, like, she didn't know how to explain it. She just had like this, you know, nervousness about, I need to talk to them. And I'm like, why? You know, but I've kind of like got that in myself too. Do you go to bed like that too at times?
Absolutely. And it gives you a boldness and a confidence that you ask people things that you may not have done before, but you care about the cause so much.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm always selling Feed My Lambs. Like everywhere I go, I'm like, hey, did I tell you about my program? I'll be dumping a load out on the ground. I drive a dump truck, folks, where I live. So I'll be talking to a new customer and like, you know, this is what I do. You know, next year if you want to get involved. I meet so many people that way. And they're like, that's a real deal. And I'm like, yeah, man. I said, we're not the only one. I said, check out your local school. They probably need help too.
Absolutely.
You know? And so it's not just our program. I'm selling it for others, you know. And y'all have a name for yours?
Dream Backpacks.
Dream Backpacks, and that's your weekend ministry that you. We call it a meal ministry. I don't know.
We call it a weekend feeding program.
That's all it is.
All the same
it's hard to
things.
explain to people. But we've put food in their backpacks, folks, for food security on Fridays. To make sure they are fed through the weekends.
Yeah, because I don't think people realize some kids get all their meals from school.
Yes.
That's where they're getting fed. They're not getting fed necessarily at home.
And by the way, you know, what we was talking about earlier with the Title I schools, you know, and the free lunch programs and all that, if they don't qualify, which in Mississippi, by the way, you can't make much money to get cut off. Like, I think it's like $18,000 that you can make a year to get a free lunch. Like, that's it for one child.
For a family of 4, I think I want to say it's like 23,000.
Yeah, it's pretty low. So, you know,
which when you think about that, you're not taking care of a family of 4. And that number may be a little bit off.
We're talking about that $18,001 will disqualify you from a free lunch. Okay. So we get back into that process of like, holy crap.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that is nothing.
Right.
Before you get cut off, you can't get a free lunch, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, that's not even, I don't even know how that equivalates into dollars per hours, but, not much.
Yeah.
So the meals that we're talking about, they're only getting fed at school. Well, I thought I was tackling this thing on the weekend meal things. And then I found out, a year or so ago, my mom calls me and she goes, Neil, this poor little baby. And I'm like, oh gosh, here we go. Right. And that's all I got to hear. And before I know it, you know, I'm calling cafeteria managers. I'm trying to figure out why this is the thing where this girl's getting her lunch pulled from her. And so then I call the principals that is not happening at our school. I'm like, yes, it is.
Yeah.
Them lunchroom ladies, they're not all built to work with kids.
Yeah.
They're not all, you know.
Yeah, some of them are. Some of them have
some of them are great. I have an amazing stories about some of the ones I know, but
Yes.
some of them do not need to be waiting on children.
Right.
And they would literally, because they've been told if they don't pay, they don't eat, you know, and so they don't want to lose their job. So they go out and pick the plate up, throw it in the trash can right in front of the kid. That happens. And I know it happens.
That hurts my heart.
It breaks my heart. So then we go into this mode of why. Why are they not getting sufficient food at school? Some schools have different things they feed them. They might give them bologna sandwich or carton of milk, but it's not the other stuff. You exclude them, it's a segregation. It's embarrassing. It's all kinds of things. So that's where I get back to where if we can feed our inmates, we can feed our children. So set aside the money. We're already paying plenty in taxes. Right. So I don't, don't put it in a for-profit mode. It don't have to be in a black line. You know what I mean? On the spreadsheet,
Right,
So
just feed the kids.
So my mom's like, this baby, I mean, we took off in a tear. I think I was spending a couple $100 a week paying off lunch tabs because, they had this thing at $25, they get cut off. Right. And I'm like, well, if they can't afford to pay, then why are they not on free lunch? Well, the qualifying thing is just out of range. So maybe they got, with rents are higher, they're all, it's just, man, it's just all over the board. So me and you could talk about this for days on why. It's just how do we solve the problem? Yeah. So our wonderful, amazing school district has seen it. They've addressed it. Yeah. I think it should be free for the whole school district, regardless of Title I or not. I mean, it's a burden that's put on our kids. We're already paying for it. So make it an item line. Yeah. You know what I mean? Make it an item line. And then we don't have to worry about it no more. Right. But I thought I was doing this great job of feeding them on the weekends. And I come to find out that, not just me, but, the efforts that I was doing to try to feed them on the weekends. Come to find out, we're not even feeding them at school during the week. So we're taking food away. Now, I will say this. The people with the breakfast carts that go around in the mornings, they're like, if it's on there, they're getting it. You know what I mean? Like, there's not a question about it. But the school lunchroom, I mean, those people have jobs to do. There's so many trays. There's so much money per tray, this kind of stuff. So I get it. You know, I totally get it. So, but anyway, again, thank you for all you do.
Yeah. Thank you for all you do.
Well, I don't do much compared to just trying to spread the word. So that's all I'm trying to do. But I will say this, Jenna, as we go forward in the future, I want everybody to look out for the DeSoto Dream Center. Again, visit them at DeSotoDreamCenter.org if you want to get involved. Call them at 662-510-5900. And that person can answer all the questions you have about either if you need some help or get involved in a volunteer standpoint and donate food, money, whatever. Get involved with them. Facebook, Instagram, it's all DeSotoDreamCenter.org or DeSoto Dream Center, period. Thank you to my local sponsors, roofworks.com, midsouth.com, Feed My Lambs, check them all out, call them, get involved, House of Grace, Meals on Wheels, you name it, man. Just get involved in something. I always tell people to stay involved. So again, thank you, Jenna, for being my guest today. It was worth the wait.
Thank you so much.
You have a great day.
You too.
Thank you. Bye-bye.